How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I wanted to talk about 10 different ideas that will help you to fill the time after you've stopped drinking alcohol. Now, I'm not going to give you specific ideas that I can do or somebody else can do. More, I'm going to give you just a way of thinking about these things. 10 different ways of changing your mindset to try and help you to think about these things a different way. To think about once you've quit drinking, to get you to look at that in a different way altogether. Right? So the first one is, don't try and fill the time. This is not about filling the time, right? This is not about trying to find something to fill the gap that was left by alcohol, right? Drinking alcohol was all about filling the time, right? When you were drinking alcohol, when I was drinking alcohol, it was about, I was bored. It was what I used to do. It was the thing that just I did when I came home from work. It was the thing that I did when I felt shit. It was the thing that I did when I wanted to celebrate, or to do all these other things in my life, right? It was just the thing that I did, and it was filling gaps. Not only was it filling gaps, but it was stealing the gaps, right? It was taking massive chunks of my life, right, and just burning them up in sort of some alcohol-fueled fucking nightmare, So you don't want to be filling the gaps, right? You don't want to be looking at filling the gaps. Any addiction, it laser focuses your mind down a very narrow path, right? When you're drinking, when you're in the habit of drinking alcohol, your whole life revolves around, the more you drink, the more your life starts to get revolving around alcohol. The more your life narrows in on that one thing that you do all the time. So when you stop drinking, when you pull away from that addiction or any other addiction, your life starts to expand again. And that's where you want to focus all your energy, is on trying to expand your life as much as possible. And it's only when you do start that expansion, you start to expand outwards and you experiment with different things, that you start to see the areas in your life that you really want to go for. When I stopped drinking first, I hadn't got a clue where I wanted to go. I had a general idea of some of the things I wanted to do, right? But everyone wants to have a better house, everyone wants to have a better car, all those kind of standard things that I wanted in my life. But I had no real idea of the direction that I wanted to go. I mean, up was a direction that I wanted to go, right? Onwards was a direction that I wanted to go. That's where it comes from, the onwards and upwards. My dad used to say it years ago, whenever I was feeling shit, depressed and stuff, my dad used to come out and say, look, it's always onwards and upwards, So that was sort of the general direction of the general sort of flow of my life. But as far as specifics were concerned, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I started experimenting with a lot of different things, So you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to experiment. You've got to try different things, but don't try and fill the gaps. Don't try and replace the alcohol with something else. Don't try and replace that narrow gap of time with something else. You want to try and expand it as much as possible, expand your horizons and look for different things. The second thing that I'd encourage you to do is to try and learn something new. Now, once your brain is unfogged from all this toxins, from the alcohol, then you're going to have a lot of energy in your mind, mental energy, right? And there's no better way of expending that energy than by learning something, whether it's a language, whether it's you're going back to school, you're learning something new in college, whether you just want to expand your life a bit, learn a new hobby, whatever it is. My life always seems to be, I've always tried to learn a lot of stuff. When I was drinking, a lot of that stuff wouldn't stay in my mind, it always, I'd sort of take one step forward and another step backwards, it's 2 steps backwards. It was always the fact that if I tried to learn something, it'd disappear after a couple of days because of the alcohol fog, And that's one of the reasons why I decided to take on a university course, because I needed to really channel all that energy. There's only so much TV you can watch, there's only so much dosing time that you can do. You have to really challenge yourself, if you want to progress in this life. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I took on this Open University course, was because I seriously needed a serious challenge and nothing more than a university degree. I mean, like from when I was young, I've always had sort of a mixed thing about college and university, right? I mean, you'll hear businessmen talking about it, and some will say, yeah, they went to college and learned what they did. And other people will say, well, they didn't go to college and they learned from experience, and that the fact that they didn't go to college helped them out, and they've got the experience of life. So I've had that side of me, and the other side of me always wanted to do something like this, and I've tried 2 or 3 times before to do it, 2 times before. This is my 3rd attempt, and the reasons why I didn't succeed before were, first, I didn't have the money to do it, and I did have to pay for the course, and I didn't have the time because I had a young son. My son was only a year old at the time, and by the time I did the degree, I sort of got 3 months into it, and I just realised that I was falling further and further behind, so I had to stop doing it. The second time I tried to do it was a literature degree. The first time was a computer programming, and I found that boring anyway. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I had it in my mind that it was a logical thing to progress into for me, because I like computers and therefore I should like programming, and it wasn't something for me at all. The second time I did it was when Sean was maybe 14, so talking 10 years ago, and it was a literature degree. And again, it was something that I thought I wanted to do, but once I got into it, I just realised that actually liking literature and breaking it down as you would have to in a college degree just wasn't for me. Now, this time, I'm having great fun with this. The first year is all about basic science stuff, so looking into cell reproduction, looking into nutrition, looking into one of the parts of the course is about alcohol and the damage of alcohol, so that's pretty pertinent to what I'm doing. The rest of it's sort of pretty boring. I'm not really into that, but the second year and on from that goes into proper psychology, so I'm looking forward to it. And as I say, it's a real challenge for me. That's the reason I took this up, was to just to get better skills at writing, at listening, at just applying myself to things, and see how it goes. The third one is to learn about yourself, right? It's very important that you look after yourself, both physically and mentally, right? And learning about yourself, truly digging down into what makes you tick is going to make a huge importance in your life. You've got to look after yourself first and foremost before you can look after anyone else. When you get onto an airline and the air steward says to you that if the plane touches down on water, or if there's a problem, that the gas mask will come down, the air mask will come down, and you have to put this onto yourself before you do anyone else around you, right? And there's a reason for this. If you help somebody else first, or you try and help somebody else first, the chances are that you might not get the air that you need. You have to put your own mask on first, look after yourself first, and then look after somebody else. So the priority should be looking after yourself first, learning about yourself first. There's a lot of ways you can do this. You can get self-help books, you can listen to self-help audios, take courses, join different groups, Facebook groups, or there's plenty of other groups on the internet that you can join nowadays. Join groups where you can go there physically in your own neighborhood. So many different places where you can go to learn about yourself, so make that a priority. And number 4 is to do something to relieve your stress, right? Do something to relieve the stress in your life. Learn something new to relieve your stress. Now, if you're anything like me, alcohol was the stress relief, right? And alcohol is not really a great reliever of stress. It doesn't do anything for you to have stress. I think it's mostly people get into the perception that they're relaxing, they're in de-stressed environment, they're in a comfortable environment, they're in a nice warm house with their armchair, they've got the TV on in front of them, they're surrounded by people that they care about, and that's the thing that is making people relax. But they associate the relaxation with the alcohol, right? Now, once you take the alcohol out of that equation, you will feel a hole there at the beginning, right? So use this as an opportunity to find much more relaxing ways of de-stressing, and preferably before you put yourself into the position where you would normally drink, right? So let's say that you drink in the evening when you come home from work. Then what you should do is, in between that time of stopping work and coming home, do something that's going to relieve the stress. Even if that's going to the gym for half an hour, going for half an hour's walk, doing some MMA, going to a boxing club, going dancing, doing yoga, meditation, whatever it is. But make sure that you bring something into your life and, bring it into your life so that it's not affecting everything else around you, but that it's being incorporated, so that, it's a seamless sort of a thing for you to go from work into that de-stressing environment, place where you can de-stress, and then go home after that, I walk a lot. I tend to start my day off walking because it just sets me up for the day. It sort of gets me into a routine, and from that routine it just leads me on to one after the other thing, and it sets me up for the rest of the day. Thinking about getting back onto my bicycle again, if nothing else but to just do something different. I also do a little bit of meditation every so often, and I do some yoga, but I want to do more of those things. But walking is the big thing for me. Number 5 is to concentrate a reasonable amount of time on improving your nutrition, right? Good nutrition will improve your life in general, right? It will improve your physical well-being, it will improve your mental well-being, it'll improve your outlook on life, right? Your perspective, it'll just put you into a much more positive frame of mind. Bad nutrition will do the opposite, right? It will sort of have a negative effect on your life. And, the problem with bad nutrition is that a lot of bad food tastes good in the moment. So you're in that momentary feeling of you're having a buzz in that moment. And that's that kind of sort of, it's not the alcohol thinking, but it's that kind of instant gratification thinking that can get you into trouble. So you have to think of this on a long-term basis, because bad nutrition will do you a lot of harm over when it's accumulating over a lot of time, right? In terms of both your physical well-being and your mental well-being, right? And as I say, all these things add up together. Now, I can't tell you what is good nutrition. I only know that the closer you can get to nature, the closer you can get to the foodstuffs that come out of the ground or grow off the trees or come out of the field, whatever it is, the better it's going to be for you, right? The less oils you can add, the less salt and sugar you can add, the better it is for you, right? The less fat you can add, right? So margarines, all that kind of stuff, they're all processed crap, right? That do nothing for you, right? Personally, I eat a whole foods, plant-based diet most of the time, right? So 99% of the time, that's what I eat. It's vegetables, fruits, nuts, whole grains, beans, pulses. There's a whole wide variety of different things that I eat. I don't eat animal flesh, or I don't eat dairy products, right? For the most part. Sometimes I have to eat, if I'm in a restaurant and there's something in the food that I can't avoid, then I'll eat it. No, I don't eat fish or meat, like if there's fish or meat in the food, then I take it out, or I ask for it to be taken out. But I'm there for my health, right? I'm not there primarily for the welfare of animals, but I do agree with that, right? So that's just me. So you have to look at your own nutrition from your own perspective, see what you're saying to yourself, look into it, read about it, as I say, get to know yourself, learn about yourself, and learn about, this is one of the most important things that you're going to do in your whole life, is sort of understand the food that's going into your body, right? Because what goes into your body is what your body builds itself on, right? It's what it builds your life on, it's what it builds your brain on. So if your body is built out of crap, then what's going to come out of it? Number 6 is get a good night's rest, right? Sleep well, right? And I know at the beginning you're going to say to me, like, I don't sleep well after I haven't had alcohol, right? That alcohol made me go to sleep. Well, alcohol is not making you go to sleep at all. It's making you go into like a form of a coma, right? If you drank enough, right? Alcohol might help you to drop off into that sleep, but you're not getting the proper sleep that you need. You need to build up a bedtime routine before you go to bed, right? A lot of the time before, right, when I was drinking alcohol, it was easy to have a bedtime routine. It was drink, go to bed, hit the pillow, fall asleep, right? Go to sleep. Now, I have a routine. 4 years later, let's be honest, I go to sleep, I read a book, I fall asleep, right? That's it. I go to bed, read a book, fall asleep every night without fail. And I have the odd night where I've got something on my mind and I can't sleep. That's what we're all going to face at some time or other in our lives, right? It's just a fact of life. But in general, just try and concentrate on getting yourself into a bedtime routine. Switch off all the bright lights an hour before you go to bed. Try and turn off the TV and anything that's really overstimulating your mind. Don't have a TV in your room. Make your bedroom nice and comfortable, warm. And for me, it's reading a book before I go to bed, and I have this same sort of thing. I read science fiction before I go to bed, so I don't read that really any other time of the day. Once I get in there, my brain associates it with going to sleep, and within, as I say, 5 to 10 minutes, I'm off to fairyland. So you have to establish your own bedtime routine. You'll find out there's loads of different ways. If you want to look for more information about this, there's lots of different places on the internet where you can find information. I've also done a few videos about this, so just look in the sidebar there in the search and you'll find them. Number 7 is to figure out where this journey is going to take you, right? What do you want to do in 5 or 10 years' time? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years' time? This type of thinking can really shed a lot of light into what other areas of your life you go into. What you learn, what you do for relaxation, who you hang out with. All these kind of things can be an offshoot of where you actually want to be in 5 or 10 years' time. I mean, let's say for instance that you want to start a business and you want to have a successful business in 5 years' time. Well, a lot of the reading that you're going to have to do now is going to be based around setting up a business. Maybe you don't know anything about setting up a business, so learning about that, learning how to set up a particular type of business, the particular type of business that you want to set up, how you're going to get there, learning about different aspects of business accounting, learning about selling, marketing, all that kind of stuff, taking courses. When I first quit drinking alcohol, I wanted to learn psychology. I'd always had an interest in psychology. I've read a lot of books on psychology, self-help books, all that kind of stuff, just on the human condition, right? Understanding other people, understanding myself more than anything else. I think if you have a good understanding of yourself, it helps you to understand other people as well. I started out with Alcohol Mastery as a means to help me to learn camera skills, help me to speak on camera, how to edit film, how to set up a microphone, how to set up a camera properly. And all of these things, I just did that for, I wanted to really set up a website where I could help people with other psychological problems. I didn't think about this at all. And it was only after I'd read a lot more books and after I got a lot more responses from people listening to Alcohol Mastery that I decided that this was the path that I wanted to do, and Alcohol Mastery has just taken on a whole different meaning to me in my life. So in the beginning, when I was figuring out my journey and where I wanted to be, it was a completely different place to where I am now. But that's all right as well, You have to have, in the beginning, you have to have a direction in which to aim towards. If you've got no direction, you're just going to be spinning around in circles. Doesn't matter if you have to change that direction, or if you change it by a big margin, or you change it by a small margin, or you change direction altogether and you decide you don't want to go there. But, life is like it's a windy road. It's not a straight road. You can sort of take branches off and then come back and take on the main road again. And, it's just experimentation. I think that's about life. So, try and figure out where you want to go. Figure out where the end result is going to be, in 5 or 10 years down the road. Try and figure this out from as many different perspectives as you can as well, from a business perspective, from personal relationship perspective, from hobbies, from health, all that kind of stuff, right? Just try and push yourself down the road 5 years' time, see yourself where you want to be, and then how you're going to get there. Number 8 is to remember that all of this takes time, right? But time is on your side. Once you stop doing this to yourself, right? Once you stop the inflow of the poison, right? And you get rid of all the shit that alcohol is causing you in your life, right? You stop the mental fog, you stop the deterioration of your body, of your organs, all that kind of stuff. That stops. Then you can work on trying to improve things, right? So you work on your nutrition, you work on where you want to be, you work on learning new things about yourself, learning new things about what you want to do in your life, and you've got extra time. Not only have you got extra time in your life, in my opinion, you extend your life by stopping drinking alcohol, right? But you have a better quality of life. And that's the important part, you know. What's the point in having a long life if you've got a shit quality life, you know? You know, I see people around here where I'm living now, expats, and they are basically eating themselves and drinking themselves into early graves. And you see them on walking sticks, you know, young enough people, right? I mean, when I'm talking about young, I'm not talking about 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm talking about people in their 70s, right? Who are still reasonably young and should be reasonably active, who are on the last legs, you know, because of what they're doing to themselves, you know. And you can go into hospitals anywhere in any country in the Western world and you'll see this for yourself. That's 80 to 90% of people that are in those hospitals, the problems that they have are caused through their own, what they're doing to themselves. That's a sad thing, but you don't have to do that, you know. If you stop doing this and you think about the repercussions of everything that you're doing to yourself, right, to the food that you're putting in and to whatever, the exercise that you're getting, blah, blah. If you do that, then you've got time on your side, right? You've got proper time on your side. You've got quality time on your side. So you've got the time to think about things. You've got the time to do things. Just that one thing, quitting drinking alcohol, has given you a massive extension of your own life, right? From both perspectives, in terms of longevity and in terms of the quality of your life. You know, you've got the time then to build your self-confidence, to build your momentum, to build your motivation, right? To build your own personal inspiration. And, you know, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. And number 9 is to live in the present moment, right? This is the only thing that you've got, right? Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about what's gone on before, right? All that drinking that you've done before is gone in the past. You cannot do anything about it. So there's no point in worrying about it. Don't worry too much about the future, apart from, you know, putting your plans in place, thinking about where you want to go, right? Setting yourself off on the right course. But all the thinking, all the behavior change, all the actions that you're going to take only can happen in this moment, right? So you can only really concentrate yourself in the moment, right? So you can concentrate yourself 100% on what you're doing now, on what you're thinking now, right? On what you're putting into your body now, on how you're treating your body now, all that kind of stuff. You know, if you've got problems, right? Don't think about the problems tomorrow. Think about the problems right now. What can you do right now? Who can you call right now? Where can you go? You know, what advice can you seek out? What can you do right now to improve your situation? And that's always what you should be asking yourself, right? All these questions should be about what you can do right now. You know, as I say, it's all right planning for the future, right? To say, well, I want to be here in 5 years' time, right? Or 10 years' time. But I always advise people to sort of break down those long-term plans, those long-term goals into much smaller chunks, and then break those smaller chunks down into even smaller chunks, and just figure out what is the next step that you can take. Then once you've done that, figure out the next step, and then once you've done that, figure out the next step. And that's as easy as it gets, you know. And it makes it very easy for you to get to the goals, because one step after another is how you do it, you know. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Well, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with that single step, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, right? You don't get to the 1,000 miles by taking the first step and then skipping to the 100th step and then the 500th step. You get it by going from the first to the second to the third to the fourth, and that's how you get to any of your goals. So always think about things from that perspective. What can you do right now? Because that's the only place right now is where you can take that next step, right? No matter what it is, right? Whether it's in your thinking or it's taking an action, right? Whether it's changing the way you think about something, whether it's you know, building a habit or breaking a habit, whether it's you know, just thinking about nutrition or your exercise, whether thinking about how you're going to overcome the boredom, right? You know, think about the boredom from today, you know, don't think about the boredom from tomorrow, the next day, whatever, I'm going to be bored here. What happens next week if I go to this place and I'm going to be feeling left out? Don't think about it like that, you know. I mean, You know, you have to do a certain amount of thinking, as I say, about tomorrow. Otherwise, you know, you'd just be going around in circles. You have to have a direction that you want to go. So when you go into these places, if you're thinking about, yeah, you've got a party next week to go to, and what am I going to do? Then, you know, obviously put some thought into it. But then once you put the thought into it and you know what you're going to do, you can forget about it. Then you can go to that party with full confidence that you know exactly what's going to happen, right? And number 10 is don't be a victim, right? Victim mentality is blaming everything else, right? Blaming everything else for your problems, right? It's blaming the weather because you couldn't get out today. It's blaming other people because you couldn't stop drinking today, right? You know, everything, right? Your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions, right? Your actions, your behaviors, your rituals, your habits. These are all your reality and they're all under your control. As soon as you start seeping out control to other things, right? Blaming other things for the control, then you start having a victim mentality. Now, I'm not telling you to blame yourself, right? And to sort of say, well, I'm a weak person, right? I can't do this because I'm a weak person, right? Or I can't do this because of blah, blah, blah. You know, like individual sort of digs at yourself where you're saying to yourself, yeah, it's my fault, right? It's always a skill problem. If you've got a problem in an area of your life, if you've got a weakness in an area of your life, it's a skill problem. It's not a personal problem, right? Everyone can learn new skills. That's the way you have to do it. So once you're looking at things from that perspective, then you're never looking at it from a weak victim mentality. You're always looking at it from, right, I'll admit that I've got a weakness here, right? Everyone's got weaknesses, no matter who they are in this life. They've got strengths and weaknesses, right? Congratulate yourself for your strengths and always admit to your weaknesses, right? But don't allow the weaknesses to reflect on you as a person, right? They're always to do with a skill shortage, right? You need to learn something, right? So figure out what it is that you need to learn and learn it, right? Don't be a victim. So that's it for today. I hope that you enjoyed this one. This one was quite a long one. As I say, these tips are they're not actual ideas that you can sort of take and, you know, implement, because everyone else is different. I mean, what I might say to you will be something that I can do to fill in the gaps. It's not something that you would even look at, right? So what I've tried to do is to try and give you some general help and advice about how you can sort of chaperone different skills in your life, gather different skills in your life, different ideas and different mentalities that will, if you take these things on board, will sort of drive you down a positive path. And I think that's the most important thing. If you can look at things in a positive way, right, you can take a positive life and be persistent with that positivity, then, you know, it can take you anywhere. So look, I'll end it there. If you have any questions at all about that, any comments, leave them down below. If you want to come over to the website and sign up for the newsletter, it's at alcoholmastery.com, and you'll see it on the home page there. Just gives your name and email address. There's also a video every day for 365 days if you're interested in doing that. So I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, onwards and upwards. Good luck to you.